Why is the Constitution so hard to amend? The challenge of amending the U.S. Constitution. When the U.S. Constitution was ratified in 1789, it established not only a government by the people, but also provided a mechanism for the people to alter the Constitution itself. However, this process has proven remarkably difficult in practice. Of the nearly 11,000 amendments proposed over more than 2 centuries, only 27 have succeeded as of 2025. The intended difficulty of amending the Constitution stems from its original design. The founders of the United States faced the challenge of creating a unified country from 13 different colonies, each requiring assurance that their mutual commitments couldn't be easily undone. This need for stability led them to establish extraordinarily high barriers for constitutional change and create cohesion. The amendment process. The constitutional amendment process, established in Article 5 of the Constitution, involves 2 major stages. The proposal stage. An amendment can be proposed through one of 2 methods: receiving a 2/3 vote of approval in both houses of Congress, or a convention called by Congress when 2/3 of state legislatures petition Congress for such a convention. The ratification stage. After proposal, the amendment must be ratified by 3/4 of all states. Congress designates which of 2 methods will be used for ratification. State legislatures vote on ratification of the amendment, or separate ratification conventions with delegates elected by voters, specifically for this purpose, are held in each state. The consequences of high thresholds. These stringent requirements have resulted in a remarkably stable constitution. While many other countries pass amendments every couple of years, the United States hasn't passed one since 1992. This stands in stark contrast to the more flexible constitutional systems found in other nations with written constitutions. The historical successes. Despite these obstacles, 27 amendments have managed to pass. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments, including fundamental freedoms such as freedom of speech and the right to a speedy trial, were passed all at once to resolve conflicts from the original Constitutional Convention. Civil War amendments, the 13th Amendment, abolishing slavery, the 14th and 15th Amendments, only passed after the bloody Civil War forced fundamental changes to American society. The growing challenges. Ratifying amendments has become increasingly difficult as the country has grown larger and more diverse. A telling example is the Congressional Apportionment Amendment that was proposed in 1789 alongside the Bill of Rights and the Congressional Pay Amendment. In the 1790s, the Apportionment Amendment was on the verge of ratification, but as more states joined the Union, the number needed to reach the 3/4 threshold increased, leaving it unratified. Interestingly, since the Congressional Pay Amendment was eventually ratified in 1992, more than 200 years after its proposal, the Congressional Apportionment Amendment might still legally be ratified. Currently, 11 states have ratified it, meaning 27 more states are needed for it to become the 28th Amendment, and it would expand the House of Representatives by adding more members and creating smaller congressional districts. The current state of affairs. In recent times, numerous amendments have been suggested, including outlawing the burning of the flag, limiting congressional terms, like has been done with presidents, repealing the Second Amendment, mandating a balanced budget. While many of these proposals enjoy strong support among certain groups, their likelihood of passing remains slim. Americans today are the most politically polarized since the Civil War, making it extraordinarily difficult to reach the broad consensus required for constitutional change. The late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia once calculated that due to the mandated amendment process, it could take as little as 2% of the total population to block an amendment. Scalia provides a striking illustration of how difficult the process has become, and yet also showing the founders' wisdom to require a broad national consensus for an amendment. The most straightforward solution would be to make amendments easier by lowering the thresholds required for proposal and ratification. However, this would require a constitutional amendment, creating a challenging debate about whether the process should be simpler. The Supreme Court's role. Instead of formal amendments, historical change has mainly come from the U.S. Supreme Court, when the court has altered its interpretation of existing constitutional provisions. However, since Supreme Court justices are unelected and serve for life once appointed, this approach is responsible for the extremely contentious nature of Supreme Court nominations. The founders' perspective. Interestingly, the founders themselves may have anticipated this problem. In a letter to James Madison, Thomas Jefferson proposed that laws should expire every 19 years, rather than requiring change or repeal, since every political process is full of obstacles that distort the will of the people. Although Jefferson believed that the basic principles of the Constitution would endure, he emphasized a profound principle: the earth belongs to the living and not to the dead. The amendment process is a constitutional safety valve for peaceful change in a democratic republic. The story of amendments begins not with the Constitution, but with the Declaration of Independence, which affirmed for the world the right of revolution. Thomas Jefferson gave voice to the right of revolution when he wrote, "Whenever any form of government becomes destructive, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, most likely to affect their safety and happiness." Jefferson's belief that periodic revolutions were inevitable was famously expressed. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. The amendment process, while challenging, is not impossible, and incorporates principles so that the Constitution belongs to the living and not to the dead, and provides potential vindication for the right of revolution without shedding the blood of patriots. Be sure to like and share this video, subscribe to Constitutional Soundbites, and help combat constitutional illiteracy.